Hello from Australia. This is Thursday, March the 19th, 5 o'clock in the evening. Just got home from work and we received your tape yesterday and listened to it. And we've been real lucky this week with mail. We got your tape yesterday, and the day before that we got Andy's tape, Andy and Carol's tape. They on their tape they told us about, well, we knew it, but that Andy's retirement would be the 20th of March, which is just right around the corner, and that Howard would be June 1st, and that Howard had his house listed for sale and had done a lot of work on it. I think the house always did look really cute on the outside, and Margie did a nice job of keeping the grass and flowers and everything. That was always something she liked to do, planted and trimmed outside. But they had cleaned their basement up. It was a typical workshop basement. They did at one time have a pool room and a little kitchen area in that, but had pretty much become overgrown with Howard's things that he saved and fixed and stuff like that. So they made a real concerted effort to clean all that out, it sounds like, because Andy said he was down there, and they did a really nice job on the remodeling of it. So sounds like they really tried to improve the way the house was on the inside to make it more saleable. So from what Andy said, the first person that looked at it was a young couple, and then that they bought it. And as he said, the retail price that he got for it was $87,500, which was his asking price. So gives us an idea where we would stand with our house, because I believe ours might not be as cute on the outside with the back deck and the rock waterfall and the walk-in basement, which I like pretty much. But it is a flat lot, and it is fenced, and I think with those things might offset some of the things that he has. Let's see. I had to go to the dentist last night. I had a filling that's worked itself out in two different stages. The first little piece came out I wasn't going to worry about, because I wasn't real happy with this dentist that I've had here, so I've thought, well, I just get by until I get back to Thomas. And then the second piece came out, and it really felt like a gorge was opening up in my back tooth. So I thought, well, about all that's left on that tooth of the side. So I thought, well, I better get a filling put in there before I crack the edge and have to have a bridge put in, or a crown or something like that. So today I was doodling around in the office, and I added up the number of days that we have left in Australia, and it's down to 134 days, using August the 3rd as a departure date. They gave Ed some names from St. Louis today of two probable candidates for the replacement of myself and my friend down in the Avalon plant. So they've got it narrowed down to at least 3 or 4 people. So that means that they'll make a decision by the end of this week and notify those people, and they'll start the transition of what we went through a couple years ago to come down here, and in a short period of time we'll start the transition to turn things around here to come back to St. Louis. So it didn't seem like it was as long as it was, and we certainly have done a lot of things in 2 years, and it really hasn't cost us all that much for the experiences that we've had, and we've really have felt fortunate to be able to experience those experiences ourselves, and the opportunities for our friends and family to experience the things that they did when they came to visit, that none of us probably would have done if it wouldn't have been for somebody down here to come visit or to see. And we know for sure that we wouldn't have had the tours like we see people in tour buses and groups all around Melbourne and we just know that they're not seeing the real Melbourne. Like any city that you would go to, though, you don't see it like a resident would, because when you come in as a tourist, you just see all the high points, and kind of like you mentioned, Jack, on your comment about some of the things we did coming back. We were right in the middle of all the tourist things, but I'm sure if we were able to spend 6 months there, you'd see the country from a whole different viewpoint. And from some of those countries we were in, it would probably be a viewpoint that we might not like so much because of the poverty and the selling of human beings and things like that go on in those Asian countries. So take a look here at some of your Carole's notes that she made when your tape was going on. So just let me see here. You mentioned about the story I had said about the golf carts, 4 golf carts and 4 sets of golf clubs. We did take our car, but it wouldn't have made much difference whose car we took. There are now about 15 Mitsubishi Magnas in the McDonnell Douglas fleet. Everybody for the last 2 years has accepted that car as their car on lease while they're over here. So it was just a little tight, but we only had a couple. Each one of us had a bag apiece for weekend luggage, and so that worked out pretty good.
Hello? I'm in the kitchen trying to make the soup thick. You know, Daddy, you always tease Mother about her vegetables. Well, I loaded it up with vegetables, but the broth wasn't thick enough. I don't like thick soup as Mike does, so I have to get it somewhere between hot water soup and gravy. And so I had to actually put some corn flour, as they call it, in and thicken it a little bit. I don't know whether it is or not. I cooked corned beef, or corn silver side, as they call it here, for St. Patrick's Day. And it was very, very good. It was delicious, as a matter of fact. And it didn't shrink hardly at all. I bought a great big piece because at home when you cook it, it shrinks up to nothing. And the stock that I cooked it in was just delicious. It was flavorful and not greasy and really good. So I saved that and decided to make some soup, as Mike has his last pool dive tonight for his scuba class, and he doesn't like to eat anything too heavy on the night that he dives. So it's cool here today. It rained last night, had a thunderstorm, and so I decided it was a good day to make soup, and it would be something light for Mike to eat.
We had a company picnic last weekend that the people at Fisherman's Bend were responsible for the games, and the people at the Melbourne office were responsible for the site and the food and the soft drinks and the beer. And it turned out to be real nice. We had a beautiful day. We have not had real good weather here in Melbourne, but last weekend was a beaut. And we, I guess we got over there about 11 o'clock, something like that, and it was a nice day. We had a little horseshoe tournament, and
Carole
had a
won.
water balloon toss. Started the day out with that, and Carole and her partner took 3rd place with that. And then while all this was going on, the horseshoe tournament was working its way down from 29 teams to 1. And let's see, the sack race came up, and I played in that and took 1st place in the sack race and won a $5 bill, and Carole won a $5 bill. Or what was your prize for the water balloon toss? Just
A ribbon.
Just a ribbon.
That was Mike's game, and it was low budget.
It was low budget. I saved $10 in my game because I only gave out ribbons, and they were left over from last year. So I got a star for that. And then as the horseshoe tournament was winding itself down to the semifinals, Carole they split husbands and wives up. So Carole had a different partner, and I had a different partner, but you had an upper bracket and a lower bracket, and I was in the lower bracket and Carole was in the upper bracket. I and my partner came to the semifinals of the lower bracket and lost on the last throw to the fellow and the lady we were playing against. So he won the lower bracket, and Carole and her partner won the upper bracket. So they had a playoff for the championship, and Carole and her partner took first place. So that game.
I'm drinking some of my prize right now.
That game paid off with your choice of wine, a cask of wine, and a cask of wine is about 2.5 liters or something like that, a half gallon. And she tasted it off and on through the past week and likes it pretty well.
Getting back to the notes that we took from the tape last night, Mother, the zucchini cake can be frozen. And if you wanted to make it in a loaf pan and make half of it, I'm sure you could do that without a problem also. And that way it could slice like pumpkin bread and stuff like that. It's a really nice cake, and I do, in fact, Daddy you'd never know there was zucchini in it, so just don't tell him when you make it. I asked you before a couple times ago for some garlic cheese dressing. That's the only kind of dressing I need, but it does make for a nice variety if you can find it. I have a feeling that maybe you can't find it in Florida, and that's why you haven't sent it. I wanted to make a comment on your hearing aids. I talked to Randy yesterday morning, and he said that you're at you, but along with the gray hair and the glasses and the hearing aids, and in this package, Daddy, there will be a prize for you.
Carole went and picked it up today, so we have a special mail prize strictly for you. Do not open until you listen to the tape.
That's good. That's what we'll do. I don't think I can bring myself to eat that water buffalo. Anyway, no one got sick, and as far as I know, it's still on the menu. June and Ed from Geelong, Mike's boss, are coming up tomorrow night, and a new couple that's been in town, 2 or 3 months, I guess. She's the employee, and he's the housefrau.
He's retired from General Motors for about 3 or 4 years now. She's a little bit younger than him, so.
And he's her third husband.
Yeah, and she hasn't divorced the others two. She's buried them, so they've had an illness and passed away. But they live out at Terre de Lac in Bonne Terre, and they plan to make that their retirement home. In fact, he was retired already, and she was making the trip back and forth to St. Louis in a carpool, just waiting for her retirement age to come around. And they had just purchased a brand new golf cart.
Electric.
No, it was gasoline.
No. Oh, gasoline.
Gasoline, but somehow they make those real quiet. You can't hear them when you start them up on the golf course. But they said they jacked it up and put blocks under, and it's sitting in the middle of their living room down in Bonne Terre. They just closed their house up. That's a secure area there. You have to go through a guard gate to get in and out. So they felt pretty comfortable about leaving that house, and it's apparent that they don't need the money from the rent, so they just closed it up.
Her name's Treva, and his name's Leonard, and Mike knew Treva in California. Leonard was not out there with her because he was still working at that time. But they're a nice couple, and they live in Geelong, and they're going to come up with June and Ed. And we're going to Pips for ribs tomorrow night, and our water buffalo, of course, if anybody wants it. And then we're going to come back here and play some cards. I made a dessert today. I'll have to show you how to make it when I get home, Mother, although Gretchen reminded me today, and I think way back in my memory, and she jogged my memory on this, and maybe this will jog yours. There are some very, very thin chocolate wafer cookies that are round. And when I was a kid, somehow I remember you making kind of a loaf cake, and this cake is almost like that. You put whipped cream or Cool Whip in between the cookies, and you make like a log, and you ice the whole thing with cream. remember somewhere having had a cake like that. I had completely forgotten that until Gretchen jogged my memory on that today. Anyway, this cake is very similar to that, although the cookies here are not very thin wafers. They're more like the consistency of an oatmeal cookie, but they're thick. They're thick, but they're chocolate.
And they're big, they're tall.
And they're fairly good size around.
2.5 inches.
Anyway, I made that for tomorrow night, and I'm going to have some pretzels and some peanuts, and we'll play some cards and have a few drinks. Normally, June and Ed stay overnight when they come up, but they're not going to. They're going to go back home tomorrow night. Ed's got a golf game while the weather's still good. He's playing golf on Saturdays and Sundays usually, and so they're not going to be staying tomorrow night.
I've got a big weekend coming up.
Yeah, you can tell them about that.
This is I finished all the scholastic part of my scuba classes, which was pretty intense. 3 hours of class for 3 weeks on Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday, I would have 3 hours of swimming pool diving. 3 Saturdays in a row, I have 3 hours of diving in the bay, and then this Sunday, which is the third Sunday and the only Sunday you have activity on, is an open water dive from Port C, which is the very left side of the bay, out near the tip where the ocean joins, where the two fingers come around to form the bay.
It's called the Peninsula.
Peninsula, and opening to the Tasman Sea. So that's what's up. Tonight I've got the last pool dive, Saturday the last local bay dive, and then Sunday the open sea dive, which I'm looking forward to. And we'll get to go down about 60 feet deep with that dive. And it's been real interesting, but I have to admit there's a certain amount of fear, a fear element with this diving. You can't help but think that all you've got is that air pack on your back and that thing in your mouth, and they teach you to take that out of your mouth and drop it and pick it up and put it in, and take your mask off and breathe without a mask on, and put your mask on and then clear your mask when you're 25 feet below the surface, and a lot of things like that I have to admit are pretty scary, but now that I've done them a dozen times, I am at least comfortable when I do it. There's a lot of there's not a lot of people in our class that started out with 8, and one lady she dropped out because she failed the physical. Two classes that she was in, she was a chain smoker, and she didn't pass the respiratory reflex test, the lung test, and the word came back that she had bronchitis. Well, I can remember that's what my dad always said. He never had a cold or never had a smoker's cough. It was always bronchitis, and I'm sure that's what her problem was too. She couldn't breathe because she smoked most of her life. So that as it is, our class finished up with 7 people, and we had our scholastic exam last night, and everybody passed that with flying colors. So now we're off to finishing the dive part of the class, and then I'll become a certified scuba diver. The organization that they're using to teach our class is the PADI. That's called PADI. It's abbreviation for the training, which is the recognized organization of the world. PADI, of the scuba divers in the world, 90% of them are taught by the PADI system. So I stumbled into the best organization, I guess, just by chance, because the dive shop closest to the house is the one that they use the PADI system to teach. So we're looking forward to that. Carole's not looking forward to it too much. She's always glad to see me when I get home, because as you mentioned and as she remembered, that's what happened to the radio announcer in not yet been bothered physically by any of the swimming or the dive. I have had some anxieties about what I've been doing, but I haven't physically been whipped or tired or anything like that. And I think that's due to the fact that I lost a few pounds and that I do some exercises, and Carole and I try to walk as often as we can. So, bad as it is, we probably won't finish this tape before the weekend's over, so I'll be able to tell you how it went, and we have to show up down at the peninsula at about 8 o'clock in the morning, so we'll have to get up pretty early to be there by 8.
We may work pretty hard on this tape, as I realize today that this is the 19th of March and that you will be heading home in less than 2 weeks. And so this, of course, will be the last tape that we'll send to Florida. And I know oftentimes you decide to pack up and head in a little bit early, and April 1st is a week from Wednesday, or 2 weeks from yesterday. So we'll make every effort to complete this tape, if not by the weekend, for sure to get it in the mail on Monday. Because this will be the last one that you'll get in Florida. I'm going to try to stay awake tonight if I can. And of course, by the time you get this, you'll know this. If I can stay awake tonight, Mike has his class, and he doesn't finish at the pool until about 10:30 generally. And they're having their completion party tonight over at Billabong's. If you remember where we had breakfast the one morning, they're going over there for drinks after their swim tonight, and it'll probably be late, or sort of late when he gets home. And I just recently found out that last February the telephone company instituted some reduced rate times here. Prior to that, they had not had those. And every day from midnight till 6 a.m. Australia time, I can call you for a reduced rate. And since I know that Sheila is with you right now as I'm talking to you, I'm going to try to stay up till midnight tonight and give you a call in Florida, providing Mike gets home at a reasonable time. That would be 9 o'clock in Florida. I figured that out. So I don't know whether I'll make it or not, but I'll try. Let's see. I've got to get back to the paper here I got. Thanks for your better description of Calvin's motorhome. Sounds like he did everything he could to make it as nice as he could for them. Do you suppose that he'll keep it after he gets back, or do you think that he just bought it for this trip and will move on? I wrote down broccoli, Daddy. Zucchini's not broccoli. You're still after that broccoli, but I know your grocery cart still stops there. So
I'm going to go check the soup.
He's worried about his soup being thick enough. I'm going to dump a cup of flour in it if it's not thick enough this time. I did finally buy the sheepskins for Audrey. I have them in the small bedroom, and I also have a box. I'm sort of dragging my feet on mailing them to her because I know that they don't generally come home from Florida until about the same time you do. So I've sort of decided that I'll postpone mailing them until a week from Friday, which will be already after the 1st of April, or that will be, it'll be I think the 3rd of April. And I'll mail them to St. Louis, and that way she'll have them there. And I did write her a note and tell her that when I sent the letter about our trip and told her that I hadn't forgotten them, that I would take care of them.
Well, an update on the soup. It's gone from water to about the consistency of milk.
That's probably as thick as I'm going to get it, only I don't know. I'll have to go in there and look at it. I was real surprised. Generally, you don't do your tapes all in one sitting, and we don't often, but sometimes we do. Depends on how much we have to catch up with. But you did 30 minutes of that tape that we got yesterday all in one afternoon sitting. And that was when, Daddy, you said that you were listening to The Price is Right, and they were talking about a Hong Kong stay, 6 nights at the Holiday Inn Golden Mile, and you were exactly right. That is where we stay. on Nathan Road. Um, it's a nice place and very, very well located. I was wondering if they quoted you a price. I was curious to know how much they said that it was going to cost. The couple that I mentioned to you that is interested in perhaps renting our house here and buying us out lock, stock, and barrel, their names are Ken and Mary Larson. Last Saturday we went out to breakfast with them and stopped at a new market called the Cheltenham Market. It's not very far from here. It's only open on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and a half a day on Saturday. And that's where I bought Audrey's sheepskins. The sheepskin man that you got yours from and I got mine from. I tried to order Audrey's from him about, 3 or 4 weeks ago, and he was having trouble getting any singles at that time. So I sort of wrote him off since he couldn't meet the supply, and I ran across some pretty good skins last Saturday out at Cheltenham Market, and ended up buying 2 there for Audrey, and thought the price was pretty fair, so I went ahead and got them there. It's a nice market. It reminds me a lot of Vic Market on a smaller scale. It's all undercover. Lots of stalls, and they have fruit and veggies, and they have a grocery store there, and lots of nice things. And as I said, it's indoors. I haven't ever been over there during the week, so I don't know how crowded it is during the week, but it was pretty crowded on Saturday. Mike says I'm getting fairly close to the end, so I won't elaborate too much more on this.
40 clicks, you got 4 minutes.
4 minutes is 40 clicks?
About.
Oh, well, one of my other notes was your comment on slick ice. Mother, I thought you'd get a charge out of me commenting on that. I used to always kid you about slick ice and cabbage slaw, if you remember. I think ice is always slick, and I think slaw is always made of cabbage, but sometimes we can't break those old habits, and I guess I never learned to say slick ice, but I'm sure I have a lot of other things that I say that are weird too. Well, today is March 19th here. Andy retires on the 20th of March, which is 2 days from now by Australia time, and I'm sure that if there's any way in hell that Mike and I can give them a call on his retirement day.
I'm sure he's going to have a hell of a party. Maybe we should call him the day after or 2 days after his party.
I think the best thing we could do would be to call him at 6 o'clock in the morning on the day he retires, or the next day, and wake him up that very first day. Mike already told you that apparently Howard sold his house for $87,500. Of course, Andy said that's if you could believe him. Turn over to side 2 for more.
Be side 2, and we're looking at, we're still on March the 19th, and we've gone to about 6 o'clock now, so we're about ready to eat, but Carole's got a few more things that she wants to clean up on the list, so we'll carry on for a little bit longer and then turn this off and get back to you tomorrow or at the weekend.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and just clean up the list right now, because then we can have some dinner and Mike can get on to his dive class. I don't know if I think I told you at Christmas time that June and Larry, or you knew this, that they had bought June's mom a puppy for Christmas, and they took it up to Iowa with them when they went up while we had cranberries. Well, June's mother, they've housebroken the puppy and everything, but she's decided that they're going to do some traveling this year and that she really can't have a puppy. So June has gotten the puppy back, and I haven't heard from her since she's actually gotten it. They were going to bring the dog down a week or so ago. I guess that will be the puppy then that they will have when we take Cranberry back. I don't think she expected to have 2 dogs so soon, but in fact she does. You said to me that you went to a restaurant. Many of them I remember, some I don't remember, but that you had a filet. that is one of the things that we had to adjust to here. They call it a fillet, as you know. They call a steak a fillet, and they call pork fillets, and they say fish fillets, and that's just how they say it. Along with saying a fillet, they say America. You hear that R on the end, and we make fun of that all the time, of course. But they're certainly not going to change for us, and I guess we can't expect them to. I also wanted to talk about another Australian thing that I always knew, but was interesting. One day this week I was down at the pool swimming and was talking to a lady who swims regularly in Australia. And I said to her, "Oh, you have a new bathing suit, Annie." And she said, "Pardon?" And I said, "New bather." They call a bathing suit a bather. And she said, "Oh, I had this pair down at my beach house." And she said, I got too fat, I thought, to wear them in the pool. So I brought this pair of bathers back up here, and I decided to wear them out. They don't say a swimming suit, they say a pair of bathers, like a pair of underwear or a pair of slacks. It just struck me funny, and I thought that you might get some mileage out of that, Mother, when you buy your new pair of bathers in your cup size that you generally buy in Florida. Throw that on the salespeople and say, "I need a pair of bathers." And Mother, you certainly didn't talk very much on the tape this last one. I hope I hear more from you on the next one, although Mike said that Daddy is absolutely right, that Mother generally addresses me. And he said, "At least your dad talks to me once in a while. He gets his feelings hurt, I think." Oh well, he'll get over it. Let's see, I lost track. I don't even know what this means. I can't remember. It says, "Mother didn't talk much. Long time in between. Sounds like Nanny." I guess something you must have said on that tape reminded me of Nanny when you said it, because that's what I wrote on these notes. Randy said that they got to meet the Hardells and that they were certainly lovely people. They are the one couple, as you know, that I've told you I have never met. So maybe sometime they'll come to St. Louis and we'll get to meet them there, or perhaps we can meet them in Florida. I'm sure that you didn't allow the kids to starve when they were there. I haven't commented on that on the tape, but I did talk to Randy yesterday morning, and they certainly had a wonderful time. They enjoyed everything that you planned for them, and Daddy, Randy said you really did your homework on the trip to Cypress Gardens and made the right decision as far as they were concerned about not wanting to spend 3 days at Disney World and Epcot, because that's what the travel people said that they would need. And neither one of them could say enough about how wonderful you had treated them and what a nice time they had. I was quite surprised, Mike and I both were quite surprised at how well Randy had remembered a trip that we had taken where he won some kind of a tournament at the miniature golf place. When he commented on that, we were surprised that he had remembered that. That was in, Mike said, in 1968 when his mom was with us in Florida. We had been to Cypress Gardens on that trip, and Randy, in fact, was at Busch Gardens because we did that on that trip, but he doesn't remember that apparently.
That wasn't as much fun as golf.
And Busch Gardens wasn't what it is today. I haven't been since then myself, and I know they have an amusement park there and all kinds of different things, and it sounds like the Cypress Gardens show has really expanded with everything that Randy said about that. That sounds like it's really a beautiful show. And I was curious if he remembered Weechi Wachi and the glass bottom boats, because we did that also on that trip. I guess only certain things can you retain. I'm sure that Aunt Louise and Aunt Margaret are gone by now, as you said on your tape that they were leaving. Some things never change, and I'm sure that if Aunt Louise said jump, everybody else said how high. I'm surprised that she lasted 2 weeks. She usually doesn't last that long. But nonetheless, that's about all I have as far as having some fetal monitoring done twice a week, which is all the way downtown, and
So that's 3 times a week to the doctor.
I've been riding along with her because Steve doesn't always take off work, and she doesn't always feel like taking off in the car by herself. She has tried now to schedule appointments, some of the things she can do on the same day, so that she can hopefully get the trips down to about 2 times a week. The baby is due sometime between the 1st and the 15th of April, and I know that they're trying to hold her off as long as they possibly can. Things seem to be okay, but not great. I don't think there's any danger for the baby, but she has a few problems. She has the RH factor, which I wasn't aware of until recently. So I guess that could create some problems too. But things are going along okay. Work's going pretty good for you, isn't it, Mike?
Yeah, no problem.
And we're counting down till Sheila gets here. We're down to 70 days as of today. So we're looking forward to that and to our trip up to the Barrier Reef where Mike plans to dive.
Darjeeling, I don't know if we mentioned to you on the other tape, my sister Darjeeling planned on coming over the last part of April.
She arrives on the 24th or the 25th. She's going to spend a couple of days in Sydney on her own. And then she'll be here until the 6th of May. So that'll be fun, because then it'll only be a couple of weeks and we'll be meeting Sheila, and she'll be back, and we'll be trying to pack up and get things organized around here. And next week we're going to try to get our photo album caught up and make a list on our household belongings, which we have to do. The people that are wanting to move in here want some sort of a ballpark figure on what we've got and how much we want for it. It just looks like the time is just flying by. I don't really know where it's gone, but it certainly has gone. And as soon as Mike has a definite note on his replacement and when he'll be here, then we will start planning our home trip based on exact dates of when we're leaving and where we're going to go. It looks like right now we are going to go home through Europe. That's what we're certainly looking at this point. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to go and have some of this delicious thick soup.
You got it up to about the consistency of light cream, so I guess I'll have to give in with that.
We love you both, and
Love
we'll
ya.
talk to you some more, maybe later tonight on the telephone.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello again from Australia. This is Saturday the 21st, about 10 after 12 in the afternoon. We just got back with Gretchen and Steve and some new people that are over here, Mary and Ken Larson. They're the ones that are going to move into our house after we move out. They've taken a house for 5 or 6 months till ours is vacant, and they can work it with the real estate company to move in. We went to Billabong's and had a nice breakfast, and after that we went over to the RACB office, that's the AAA office, and they recommend that people come down here, join the auto club even though the cars are new. We do a lot of traveling, and a lot of the wives drive them, and they just recommend that for our own convenience to join it. I think it was $54 or $58 for the first year, which is more expensive than the second year. So they did that. He had trouble last week with, he left his dome light on and went out to work the next day, and of course his battery was not strong enough to turn the engine over, so he called in to say he would be late for work and if I knew anybody that had jumper cables. Well, I had jumper cables, so he called Carole and she went over and gave him a start. But if he had belonged to the motor club, he could have just called them and they would have been there right away. They have these little station wagons that roam around the city that are radio dispatched like a tow truck would be, but these are like little vans or hatchback cars that have a certain amount of tools in them that a person might need for emergency road service to get them underway. So here we are Saturday with nothing to do tonight. Carole won't have it that we don't plan something, so we're going to make arrangements to have somebody come over and play some cards or something. We had June and Ed Beasley and another couple up last night from Geelong. We went out to dinner at the American rib place called Pips and had real nice barbecued ribs and chicken wings. And today I've got in about a half hour I have to leave for my dive into my scuba dive into the bay, and the water looks pretty calm out there. It's kind of cold though today. It's about 60 degrees, 65 degrees outside, so it'll be a little chilly getting dressed into the wetsuit, and then when we come out, getting the wetsuit off and the warm clothes back on. But anyway, today and tomorrow, and that'll be finished with that, and I'll have my certificate, which I've been looking forward to doing. And on the phone conversation, Sheila said that she's joined a scuba class, so we'll be able to dive together at the Great Barrier Reef, which is the ultimate goal of why we both started it. So I don't know if Carole's got anything to say. I've just about talked this whole tape, so I'll turn it over to her.
He hasn't talked this whole tape, and besides, he gets on there and tells you everything that I have to say, and since we had our phone conversation with you the other night, that kind of clears things up a little bit. He told you we went out to breakfast this morning, didn't you?
Yep.
We've been trying to work on some bookings for Easter. We've been just about every place in and around Victoria that's fairly close, and you hesitate taking off and going too far, but I think we found a place up pretty far north. It's 540 kilometers, called Mildura, and we haven't been up there. It's up on the New South Wales border, and it's on the Murray River, and there's pretty much to do up there. I think we'll leave Friday morning and come back on Monday. We have Friday and Monday both off from work over Easter. The RACV is trying to get us bookings. Easter is a big travel time in Australia. The kids have a week off, and we farted around and didn't make a decision on where or when we wanted to go, so we haven't got a booking yet. It's still 3-4 weeks away, but that's not really long enough. A lot of these places are booked a year in advance around here. And they said I called them this morning, they said they'd try to get back to me by noon. If they didn't, they would try again on Monday morning to get us a place to stay. So I guess we'll wait until Monday because it's 12:15 now and I haven't heard from them. Anyway, if we can get a place to stay, that's what we're going to do over Easter, so we won't be here that weekend. I mailed Sheila's birthday package yesterday, wrapped up everything along with a few little things we'd gotten her in New Zealand, and her birthday gift from us. And I told her she should have it sometime next week, and I told her not to open it till her birthday. I don't know whether she'll be able to hold out or not, but to open it before she calls me on her birthday, which she's going to do. I know that you're wrapping things up in Florida, getting ready to go home. Seems like the time's gone pretty fast. I'm sure it seems that way to you. It always does. Anyway, I don't really have anything else to say. We told you we'd try to wrap this thing up so that we could mail it to you, and it appears that we're about halfway through this side, but rather than just take up the tape with rambling, I'll cut it off for now and talk to you some more either tonight or tomorrow. Mike can tell you how his dive went today. And we love you both.
Last week we dove up to 20 feet deep out in the bay, and we saw a lot of codfish, and I saw a stingray, which was about 2 feet across, and a lot of human trash, such as beer cans and bottles, which it's too bad in that area of the bay. It's so clear to see all that stuff on the bottom.
So he'll report to you tomorrow on what happened, probably today and tomorrow's dive. So I'll say goodbye for now. I love you both. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So hello. Today is Sunday, March the 22nd, and I'm standing fairly close to the recorder because I don't want to talk too loud. Mike's asleep. It's 4:30 in the afternoon, and he had his final dive today out at the entrance to Port Phillip Bay. If you remember when we were down at Queenscliff, we had a look at that, and you could see the head, what they call the heads. Well, they dived just inside the heads today, inside the bay. Let's see, what did he tell me that's called? The Pope's Eye. I don't know why it's called that, but it is where the rocks have sort of been piled up where they've been able to install a navigational marker of a strobe light. And there's apparently a lot of marine life in that area. He said they did see a lot of fish, but it's been raining here off and on for a couple of days, and the weather has not been very favorable. They dived in the bay yesterday afternoon right down here at the end of South Road. And when it's murky, when it's cloudy, the water seems to be murky as well. And he said the best dive he had was the second Saturday that they dived, when it was a bright, sunny, clear day, and of course that makes the water more clear. But he did complete his dive course, and he enjoyed it thoroughly. He's completely certified now. I think he's talking about maybe taking another class where they go out and dive where the submarine is sunk out at the opening. And I'm going to try to encourage him to maybe get involved in a dive club, which they have up there. Those groups dive regularly, and I would like for him to do that at least until we go up to the reef, because it builds confidence, and it also builds a little bit better knowledge of how to handle the equipment and everything, and I'll be more comfortable the better, more experience he has going down. He has really enjoyed it, but he's worn out today. We played cards last night with another couple in Sue Andrews until almost 2 o'clock, and he had to get up at 5:45 to drive an hour to where the dive site was today. So he's pretty tired. He came home, and I had some vegetable soup made from the other day. When we were talking to you on the tape, I told you it was like gravy, and he likes it that way, so I heated him up a bowl of soup. I was just having a bowl of soup when he came in. He had some lunch and a drink and said he was just wiped out and went to bed and closed the door. I had some letters to write. I had gotten 3 letters towards the end of the week, and I've been trying to keep up with them as they come in. Sometimes I let them pile up, and I end up with 9 or 10 to write at one time, and I don't like to do that. I can sit down and write an aerogram in 15 or 20 minutes and have them out of the way. So I had gotten one from Chuck and Bev down at the lake, and one from Chris and Dan, my friends that were here, and also one from Gary and Betty Lake. I brought a ring of hers, an opal ring, back over with me that she had a stone missing, and she had asked me to see about having it replaced and to also pick her out a pair of earrings. And I had put it away in my jewelry case and completely forgotten about it. So last week, maybe I told you this, I can't remember. I took it down into the city, and they're going to repair it for her. And I picked her out a pair of earrings, which I'll pick up when the ring comes back in. So I wanted to write her and tell her that I was on top of that. Since Mike was gone this morning, and Steve, Gretchen's husband, and Mary Lou's husband, Rich, were playing golf, the 3 of us decided to go into the city and have breakfast at the Pancake Parlor. And Sue Andrews said last night she and Travis were planning on doing that because they were going to the Vic Market. So we met in there and had breakfast, and then all of us went over to the Vic Market for a little while. Shirley Ewing asked me to get her a sweatshirt similar to one that she had gotten when she was here. She's also asked me to get her some sweaters, and I haven't done that yet. And I'll send them all at one time. When I send them, she won't be needing the sweaters now, so I'll send them by surface. They'll take a couple of months, but it's a lot cheaper to send them that way. And they'll have them nice and new for next winter when they get home. When they get home. When winter comes, and we'll be home then, of course. Anyway, I've turned my little bedroom into what I now call the shipping department. If Mike might have told you that. It seems like I'm mailing something out of here practically every day. And I am going to try to get this tape in the mail at least by Tuesday. I know that if I don't, you won't get it before you leave Florida, and I know they forward your mail, but I'd like for you to get it before you leave Florida. I suppose on this day in the United States, which is Saturday, Sheila's on her way back to Springfield, if she's not already back there. I never did really ask her what day she was going back, but I think she said the other night on the telephone that she was going back on Saturday. I can't honestly remember that for sure. But anyway, I took some lasagna out. I had made a big pan of lasagna the other night. We had company, I guess it was last weekend. And we had so much left over, so I froze it in 3 portions, enough for us a meal, 3 piece each for us for a meal, and give us 3 meals. I took some of that out. Last night I made a casserole. We had company for dinner, and I made a casserole, a recipe that someone had given me, Mother. You would love it, Daddy. I don't think you'd like it. You'd call it awa. But it was made with chicken and green beans and water chestnuts and long grain and wild rice and a little bit of onion and a little bit of celery and a can of cream of celery soup and a cup of mayonnaise. And you mix it all together and you bake it for 30 minutes. And it was delicious. The rice is there, your chicken's there, your vegetables there, and we had a salad and some cheese rolls. And then I told you we played cards. I made a rum cake. I've got that recipe, and that's a recipe that I brought with me from home, and I've never made it, and it turned out absolutely delicious. I've got some dark rum that someone left me that Mike absolutely will not drink, and it's called Bundaberg, which is a standard Australian rum. They love it, but it's dark and extremely strong. But it works out really well for the cake. You put it in the cake mix, and also you make a glaze that has nuts on it that goes over the cake. You put a little bit of rum in that, and it turned out really nice. Everybody liked it. Mike especially liked it, and you know he's not too big on desserts, but he particularly liked it. I was going to send it to work with him tomorrow to finish it off, but I don't think I'm going to because Steve called this afternoon. Gretchen bought a turkey a couple of weeks ago, and she's got it in her freezer, and she wants to get it out of there before she has the baby, which could be, I guess, any time now, at least within the next few weeks. So he called and wanted us to come for dinner tomorrow night, and I told him we couldn't come because we plan to inventory our house tomorrow night. We have to get a list to the people that are interested in buying us out. They want to know what we've got and what we want for it, and we don't even know. So we're going to try to go through the house room by room and compile some kind of a list for them based on what we know now that we're going to be taking home with us. They'll have a better feel then for what else they might need to buy because there are a few other people going home about the same time we are, and everybody will have some things to sell. So Steve said, well, Tuesday night would be okay then, and I think I'm going to make the dressing. I haven't told Gretchen this yet, but I only like my own dressing, so I think I'll make the dressing and maybe a pumpkin pie. I've got a can of pumpkin on the shelf, and I won't be making pumpkin bread before I go home, and I'm trying to use up what's in there, so I think I'll save this rum cake because, you know, Mike doesn't like pumpkin pie, so that takes care of dessert for him if I keep this rum cake. Anyway, I guess that'll be Tuesday night. We'll have a little bit more time now because Mike's finished his dive classes. That was pretty intense, 3 nights a week for 3 weeks for 3 hours a night. And things that we need to do together we weren't able to do. We're way behind on our photo album, and so we were going to start that on Tuesday, but now we're going to postpone that till Wednesday since we're going to go to Steve and Gretchen's Tuesday night, and we're going to work on that. Mike talked to Darjean last week, and she is due to arrive here on the 24th. Whether she brings Carrie with her or not, I don't know. That should be interesting. She said that she is still working on finding someone to come in and take care of her at the house. I don't know what her alternatives are other than bringing her along, but apparently she's booked her flight and she has her passport. I don't know about her visa, but if Carrie comes, of course, she has to have all that stuff too, passport and visa, just as a big person would. Let's see, I can't think of much else to tell you right now. We're counting down on Sheila. I think we're down to 68 or 67 days. I haven't colored in my gumball yet for today. I'm sure Sheila told you, or we did, about the gumball machines that Mike made. Anyway, I've been trying to keep up with that a little bit. It's a dreary day here today. It's a good day to take a nap. We don't have any heat on in the house. We have had in the last couple of weeks, off and on, we've had some heat on. It's cool enough at times to have it, but we just put on an extra sweatshirt and keep socks on our feet, and we seem to stay warm enough that way. Well, I guess I'll let you go for now. Maybe when Mike wakes up, he'll tell you more about his dive. I'll mention to him that I told you a little bit about it, and he can probably elaborate some on it, and perhaps we can finish up this tape, because, Daddy, I know you're anxiously awaiting your prize that's going to come in this package. And I think that it'll be a real surprise. I love you both. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Hello from Australia. I finally woke up. This is still Sunday, the 22nd, about 10:30 at night, 10 o'clock at night. Carole said that she mentioned to you a little bit about the dive. I'll tell you a little bit more about it. There was 18 people of us, students that were on the boat, and 4 instructors, including 4 instructors. So we drove down the peninsula for about an hour's drive from Melbourne, and then that took me to a town called Sorrento, and that's where we picked up the boat, and we had a 30-minute drive on the boat to an area called the Pope's Eye, which is near the heads of the Port Phillip Bay. The left peninsula, which is called Port C, is on one side, and on the right side of that peninsula is called Queenscliff. And I guess between those two peninsulas there's about 300 or 400 yard opening. During World War II, I understand, in that area they had nets strung across there to keep submarines out. So we took turns diving. They were made up into 4 groups, and it was real interesting. We dove to a depth of 40 feet, which is the deepest I've been. The time Howard's son, Bart, brought the scuba equipment down to the lake when I lost the cover, or Jim lost the cover for the Larson, I was at about 30 feet then, but we couldn't see anything. And this, at 40 feet, was really pretty clear. You could see 15 to 30 feet, I guess, at different times. There was some seaweed in the area, and that was kind of eerie, swimming through that. Got to see some pretty big fish, a lot of marine life. The dive instructor we were with pointed some things out to us. He had been there a lot of times. Some of the exercises we do under the water is to take the weight belt off. My weight belt weighed about 40 pounds today. Without that, you won't sink to the bottom. So we did that, and you have to remove your mask and put it back on, and then through the technique that they teach you, clear the mask. So that was pretty good, other than it was a little chilly out there, even with the wetsuit on. It was pretty enjoyable, and now I'm a certified open water scuba diver, and can rent and hire equipment and do other things with it. So the tape's about over. We're going to sign off. We love you. So long from Australia.
Bye-bye.
Bye.